This is a U.S. China Media Brief produced by the UCLA Asian American Studies Center. The U.S. China Media Brief features interviews with experts and other prominent individuals involved in studying and documenting the dynamic and ever-evolving relationship between the United States of America and the People's Republic of China. I'm Russell Leong, Director of the U.S. China Media Brief of the UCLA Asian American Studies Center. Our purpose is to provide a more balanced view of U.S.-China relations for the U.S. media through our media brief and website.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Sure.
You just talk about this from your perspective, why China should take up this new global leadership.
Right.
But then I have two questions. One is, from your experience working with Chinese students, Chinese education institutions, and the Chinese government, do you think China as a whole society is willing to take this responsibility or to take this leadership? That's the first question.
Sure.
Second is, how do other countries accept the U.S., perceive the rise of China? And are they willing to accept this new global leadership? For example, Korea and Japan in Northeast China, Northeast Asia, and for example, African countries.
Sure. Let me begin with the second question. Okay. And then the last comment about the China-Africa relationship. I've been saying lately, since 2006 November, when the Hu Jintao administration invited about almost 50 national heads from African continent, I don't think there's none in the previous human history, a nation simultaneously invited almost 50 national heads, the presidents and the premiers to one city, the capital city, in 1 week to talk about future of the African continent and future of China through harmonious cooperation. At the end of the week-long conference, the Ethiopian president, in behalf of the whole African continent, declared what we discussed and what we agreed with Chinese government, with the African the governments. We will cooperate for the win-win direction. It's going to be symbiotic direction and peaceful coexistence. If China needs our natural resources, they will pay at just price, and they will help us to develop our nations, not being like in the past, exploited and robbed by the colonial mentality. But what we believe, the Chinese government will honor us as a sovereign nations and will respect the national differences. And we do respect the Chinese, the national sovereignty, and we will cooperate. And so this will become the win-win era. Not anymore one comes to take everything away from us and we become colonized and poor. And that past comes to an end. We begin a new era. That's what the core message the Ethiopian president declared at the public ceremony. What I'm saying, that historic gathering in Beijing can become a new norm for the future of 24th century in terms of international relations. I believe China can make that China-African continent new relationship as prototype, as the unprecedented, but as a new prototype for the future international relations. Right after that international conference in Beijing, U.S. government, unfortunately, approached to that new development in African continent by founding AFRICOM in Stuttgart, Germany, as a military operation headquarters, intending to create all sorts of military, economic, social, political problems wherever China and a or two, three African countries work together for win-win direction. And it's a sad, it's still tragic reality, but I do not think AFRICOM strategy like that will not be honored, will not be respected, but mutual respect and win-win approach will be honored and will be respected in the future. Having said that, again, China can help the world to begin to trust what China as a new nation can do and what China is willing to do for the sake of the whole humanity. Many countries around the world, including specifically Japan and South Korea and the Northeast Asian regional other countries, might be suspicious of China as a new global power, particularly India, such as, and not much supportive of what the China is doing. But I say not from the position of so-called pro or anti-China, but for the sake of the whole region, for the sake of the new world, China can begin with neighboring countries and the world to build a new future. The future will be fundamentally different, I believe, from the past, where the Western colonial paradigm, the Western colonial mentality, Western colonial structure and system has shaped the past. And the new future, which largely led by and initiated by the Chinese leadership, under the philosophical principle I said, the harmonious cooperation, can possibly build a new future for the whole humanity. That's my political faith. But in order to do that, as the Zhou Enlai, Prime Minister Zhou Enlai, the way back, declared the Great Five Principle in its international relationship, as we all know, peaceful coexistence, and then will not interfere with the other nations in the domestic issues, etc., etc. And the Deng Xiaoping said 1976 or so at UN, we will become a strong, big country, but we will never become like a hegemonic power, what we see like the American power. If China can stay on that course with the five great peaceful coexistence with the other communities at the same time, not as another muscle wing, the hegemonic power, but as a big country, but honoring other nations' independence, and willing to find new way upon which everybody can win, so that everybody can be served for their wonderful the well-being.
The preceding copyrighted program is a property of the University of California, Los Angeles. All rights reserved. It may be used freely for educational and not-for-profit activities. For other uses or to make an inquiry, please contact the Asian American Studies Center at UCLA.